Good morning, student. We have seen different properties of light, just like reflection. Then we have seen refraction. है ना? Now we have to see the scattering of light. What happens in reflection? Light comes from air, strike on the reflecting surface, and again go back to the air. So light is returned to the same medium. So this we call it as reflection. Then refraction. What is refraction? Light comes from air, enter into the glass. Now air is transparent medium, glass is transparent medium. While passing from one transparent medium to other transparent medium, what happens? It changes direction. It will change its direction. It will either bend towards the normal or bend away from the normal. So this phenomenon we call refraction. Okay, very good. So this we call as refraction of light. Now we have to see scattering of light. We have to see scattering of light. By scattering of light, we can describe different phenomena that you observe in the day-to-day life. Just like why the sky becomes reddish during sunrise and sunset, why sky is blue in other time of the day. So this can be explained very easily with the help of scattering phenomenon. So what is scattering? So when the light passes through the imperfect medium, that is a transparent medium having suspension or colloidal solution. Okay, so light is coming in a air. Air is filled with what? Dust particle, then water vapor, then smoke particles. So many particles are suspended in the air. एयर में बहुत सारे पार्टिकल्स सस्पेंडेड है ना. सो एयर इज फिल्ड विद different varieties of particles. Okay, so when light fall on such particle, the particle absorbs the light energy, re-emit this energy in different direction, है ना, so that the light is coming in this direction, but below it you will get the light, है ना. So this phenomenon is called as scattering of light. When light comes in straight line, strike on a particle coming in its path, then the particle will redirect light in different directions. This phenomenon is called as scattering of light. Okay. Now in the hot summer, in the May days, in the hot summer in India, you find that a very bright light is outside. But if in your room there is no direct sunlight coming in your room, then also your room is filled with light. More intense light than what? Light given by our electrical bulbs. Okay, why it is so? Light coming inside though direct light is not coming, light is coming inside the room because of phenomenon called scattering of light. Okay, so there is a light before sunrise and after sunset also. सनराइज और सनसेट होने के पहले भी एटमॉस्फेयर में आपके घर में भी थोड़ा बहुत उजाला आ जाता है. व्हाई दिस इज हैपनिंग? बिकॉज ऑफ स्कैटरिंग ऑफ लाइट. सो व्हाट इज स्कैटरिंग ऑफ लाइट? व्हेन लाइट पासेस थ्रू अ इम्परफेक्ट मीडियम सच एज व्हाट? एयर फिल्ड विद कोलाइडल पार्टिकल्स. जैसे लाइट इम्परफेक्ट मीडियम सच एज एयर से पास होता है, फिल्ड विद व्हाट? कोलाइडल और सस्पेंशन पार्टिकल्स. व्हाट हैपेंस? Light get deflected from a straight path. Light get deflected from the straight path and get redirected in many directions. And this phenomenon that we observe in nature is called scattering of light. So light coming in straight path, it must go in straight path, but it get redirected in different direction. Why? Because of the phenomenon called as scattering of light. Okay, so scattering of light we have to see here. Then all particles cannot scatter the light. जैसे एयर में क्या है बोलो? एयर कंटेन नाइट्रोजन 78%, ऑक्सीजन 21% and 1% other gases. But these molecules of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, these molecules are very small, so they will not able to scatter the light. Okay, for scattering of light, what we should observe? We should observe that the size of the particles should be larger. How much it should be larger? It should be comparable to the wavelength of light that it scattered. जिस लाइट को स्कैटर करना है उस लाइट के वेवलेंथ के कंपेरेबल होना चाहिए. देन व्हाट विल हैपन? देयर विल बी स्कैटरिंग टेकिंग प्लेस. ओके, so particle size should be larger to observe the scattering phenomenon. Now what is wavelength? This is what? Crest, this is stub, this is crest, this is stub. Electromagnetic waves, light is in the form of what? Electromagnetic waves. So electrical wave travel in this direction, the magnetic wave travel in this direction. Electrical wave and magnetic wave both are in perpendicular direction, propagate both in perpendicular direction. That's why light is called electromagnetic waves. Crest, stub, crest, stub. Now the distance between two successive crests or distance between two successive stubs we call wavelength of light. दो successive crest, दो successive stub के बीच में का जो distance है, that's called wavelength of light. So this wavelength of light and the particle size must be comparable. Then you will observe scattering of light. Now, what are the colors present in the white light? White light contains 7 colors. Which are that? V. What is the acronym for that? What is the short form for that? It is VIBZYOR. Violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. Now, violet has small wavelength, smallest wavelength. विजिबल लाइट में, व्हाइट लाइट में 7 कलर होते हैं, उसमें सबसे कम वेवलेंथ वाला कौन है? वायलेट. सबसे ज्यादा वेवलेंथ वाला कौन है? रेड. ओके, सो वायलेट इज हैविंग स्मॉलेस्ट वेवलेंथ, रेड इज हैविंग लार्जेस्ट वेवलेंथ. ओके, द स्मॉलर वेवलेंथ will be scattered by smaller particle, larger wavelength will be scattered by larger particle. Since the particle size is smaller, it will scatter which light? Violet light. ठीक है? If the size of the particle larger, it will scatter which one? Red light. Okay, the size of the particle will decide which color of the white light will be scattered. So violet, small wavelength, smaller particle will be scattering this. Red, larger wavelength, it will scatter. A larger particle will scatter the red wavelength. Okay, so in this way, the size of the particle will decide which light will be scattered by that particle. Okay, so what is scattering of light? Scattering of light क्या हुआ? When light passes through imperfect medium, how is the imperfect medium? Such as air filled with colloidal particles. What happens? Light get deflected from straight path. Light get diffracted from straight path and redirected in many directions. This phenomenon is called as scattering of light. So light is falling on the particle present in the air in the form of suspension or colloidal solution. The light is redirected in different directions. So this phenomenon is called scattering of light. Okay, clouds scatter the light. Okay, that's why you see the cloud in the sky and light occurring in atmosphere before and after the before sunrise and after the sunset. Some 15 minutes light is there, 15 to 20 minute light is present in the atmosphere. Why? Because of the scattering of light. Now scattering of light will be there when the particles are of larger size, that is comparable to the wavelength. If the particle is of smaller size, it will scatter violet. If it is little bit larger than that, it will scatter indigo. If it is little bit larger than that, it will scatter the blue. If it is largest, then it will scatter the red light. So size of the particle decide which color will be scattered from white light. Okay. Now, if you take the colloidal solution and pass the light into that, sharp beam of light is passed with this colloidal solution. What will find that the beam of the light becomes visible to us. अभी कोई भी ऑब्जेक्ट आपको कब दिखाई देता है? आपकी पेन समझो टेबल पे रखी और लाइट चली गई, you will not get it. But when light is present there, you will easily find out where the pen is kept. Okay, so why pen you can observe there? Because light is present there. तो लाइट के कारण आपको पेन दिखाई देंगे. वैसे ही आपको एयर में का पाथ लाइट का कब दिखाई देगा? When there will be scattering of light. Okay, so in winter, in the morning of the winter, there is what happens there? Water vapor get condensed on the dust particle and the particle become larger in size, so that the air medium becomes a colloidal solution. When light passes through that solution, what happens? The light will be scattered by the particles present in the air, and you will find that clear path of light going through that air. So this we can observe where? In the canopy of forest. Forest filled with large trees. There are certain gap between two trees. The light passes through that. Sunlight passes through that during morning hours, and you will observe that the path of light coming to the ground. You can see it very clearly. वो दो जहाँ पेड़ के बीच में जो लाइट आ रहा है उसको हम क्लियरली देख पा सकते हैं. क्यों देख सकते हैं बोलो? Because of the scattering. This effect is called as Tyndall effect. This effect is called as Tyndall effect. What is Tyndall effect? The phenomenon of scattering of light. The phenomenon of scattering of light by whom? By particles in a colloid. Phenomenon of scattering of light by. कौन scatter करेगा light बोलो? Particles in a colloidal solution or a very fine suspension. Colloidal से particle बढ़े रहे तो क्या बोलते हैं उसको? Suspension. है ना? So that the path of light become visible. So when light passes through the colloidal solution or small particle suspension solution, the path of the light going in straight path will be scattered. This phenomenon will make the path of light visible to that solution. So this phenomenon is called as Tyndall effect. In 19th century, this was discovered by the scientist Tyndall. That's why this effect is called Tyndall effect. Have you understood? So what you have seen today? Today we have seen scattering of light. The scattering of light depends on what size of the particle. Smaller the size, it will scatter blue color from white light. If the size is larger, it will scatter red color. Then path of the light is visible when the light passes through this suspension or colloidal solution. So this phenomenon is called as Tyndall effect. So tomorrow you complete define scattering of light and Tyndall effect. Complete this homework please. Okay. You have to complete this homework and put it on WhatsApp. Okay. So that I can see whether you have completed or not. Okay friends.